بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ألف لام ميم. تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم هدى ورحمة للمحسنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. ومن الناس من يشتري لهو الحديث ليضل عن سبيل الله بغير علم ويتخذها هزوا أولئك لهم عذاب مهين. وإذا تتلى عليه آياتنا ولى مستكبرا كأن لم يسمعها كأن في أذنيه وقرا فبشره بعذاب أليم. إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات النعيم خالدين فيها وعد الله حقا وهو العزيز الحكيم. خلق السماوات بغير عمد ترونها وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم وبث فيها من كل دابة وأنزلنا من السماء ماء فأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج كريم. هذا خلق الله فأروني ماذا خلق الذين من دونه بل الظالمون في ضلال مبين. ولقد آتينا لقمان الحكمة أن اشكر لله ومن يشكر فإنما يشكر لنفسه ومن كفر فإن الله غني حميد. وإذ قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. وإن جاهداك على أن تشرك بي ما ليس لك به علم فلا تطعهما وصاحبهما في الدنيا معروفا واتبع سبيل من أناب إلي ثم إلي مرجعكم فأنبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا بني إنها إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض يأت بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. يا بني أقم الصلاة وأمر بالمعروف وانه عن المنكر واصبر على ما أصابك إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمش في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير. ألم تروا أن الله سخر لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وأسبغ عليكم نعمه ظاهرة وباطنة ومن الناس من يجادل في الله بغير علم ولا هدى ولا كتاب منير. وإذا قيل لهم اتبعوا ما أنزل الله قالوا بل نتبع ما وجدنا عليه آباءنا أولو كان الشيطان يدعوهم إلى عذاب السعير.
ومن يسلم وجهه إلى الله وهو محسن فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى وإلى الله عاقبة الأمور. ومن كفر فلا يحزنك كفره إلينا مرجعهم فننبئهم بما عملوا إن الله عليم بذات الصدور. نمتعهم قليلا ثم نضطرهم إلى عذاب غليظ. ولئن سألتهم من خلق السماوات والأرض ليقولن الله قل الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. لله ما في السماوات والأرض إن الله هو الغني الحميد. ولو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعده 7 أبحر ما نفدت كلمات الله إن الله عزيز حكيم ما خلقكم ولا بعثكم إلا كنفس واحدة إن الله سميع بصير ألم تر أن الله يولج الليل في النهار ويولج النهار في الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري إلى أجل مسمى وأن الله بما تعملون خبير ذلك بأن الله هو الحق وأن ما يدعون من دونه الباطل وأن الله هو العلي الكبير ألم تر أن الفلك تجري في البحر بنعمة الله ليريكم من آياته إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور وإذا غشيهم موج كالظلل دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين فلما نجاهم إلى البر فمنهم مقتصد وما يجحد بآياتنا إلا كل ختار كفور يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم واخشوا يوما لا يجزي والد عن ولده ولا مولود هو جاز عن والده شيئا إن وعد الله حق فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور إن الله عنده علم الساعة وينزل الغيث ويعلم ما في الأرحام وما تدري نفس ماذا تكسب غدا وما تدري نفس بأي أرض تموت إن الله عليم خبير
بسم Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Hi chats. Hello. Hello, hello. 1 second. How are you guys doing? Y'all doing okay? Y'all doing alright? Don't mind me being small today. I'm feeling a little small. Hope that won't change anything. I hope you guys will still like me even if I'm small. Anyways. Yes, alhamdulillah, I'm good as well. I had a good rest yesterday. The problem is with taking a day off. I realized since I've never taken day offs before, but if you take a day off, you will start wanting more day offs. And you'll be like, I want more. Maybe I should take another day off, right? Well, yeah, that's the problem. I wanted another day off as well, but then I realized, whoa, relax. You have a book to finish, right? I have a right shoulder fit. No day offs. Leave me alone, man. You don't understand. You don't understand how good day offs are. They're amazing. I know you work on your stuff day and night. It's not cool. Get a day off. It's good. All right. Anyways, it's kind of weird looking at myself like being this small, but you have to deal with it. I'm very, very cold, so I'm being comfy under the table, or as I would call it, the improvised kotatsu. You know, it is. We live in cold times, so yeah. Anyways, it is comfy. It is comfy though. Take a day off until you get tired of day off. I'll never get tired of day off. If I take a day off until I get tired of day off, that's basically me graduating and never becoming a VTuber again. Trust me, oh man. Careful with your words. If you want me to take a day off until I get tired of day offs, then that's basically telling me to never come back. It's easy. It's too easy for me to like just infinitely have day offs. But anyways, on the other side, I would get lonely and I would want to stream, so let's go back to yeah. Okay. I guess having a blanket over me makes me sleepy, which is bad. But where were we? Yes. Last time we were talking about many things actually. Specifically, we talked about the revelations, right? The very first revelations and the impact the revelations had on the prophet, right? Because this was a big deal, right? We all tried to imagine what if a huge angel tried to hug us from behind, what would we do, right? And all that. And today we'll be talking. We'll skip over all the details. There are so many details, but I feel like because people were complaining, of course, not me just thinking that. Oh, but technically this didn't really happen. I mean, I heard from someone that this didn't happen. If you're gonna keep complaining about, I mean, I can see from the stream title, I'm already mad about this. But like, I'm reading a book here. I'm not the one who wrote the book. Go complain to the writer. Don't complain to me. I mean, you can't complain to him because he passed away. Rahmanullah, Safi Rahman, Barak Furi. But who are you to complain? And then sending me like online articles about, well, technically this is like this and this happened. Okay, I'm not reading from Google. I'm reading from the book. This is the number one book regarding this story, and is the widely accepted book everywhere. As you can see from the screen, it's been translated to every kind of possible language. By the way, that's why the book from the thumbnail has Indonesian in it. Have you never thought it was weird? Anyways, where were we talking? I'll be skipping over the details. Thank you those who are annoying about details. Let's go to the next stage. All right. This is called the divisions, or the phases of the call, or the phases of the prophecy, because the prophecy wasn't exactly a I never was in it if you hadn't told me. I only knew when the chat told me. Everyone who came in the stream were like, "Hey, is this an Indonesian book? Hey, is this an Indonesian book?" Like, at least got 7 comments like that. Anyways, probably more. The prophecy had 2 main phases, right? Which are called the Mecca phase and the Medina phase. And we call them phases because they're, well, let's just say time periods that were significantly different from each other. The first phase, the Mecca phase, were, as the name implies, were in Mecca, the city of Mecca, and it was around 13 years. The second phase, the Medina phase, was exactly 10 years. Okay. Why was there two phases to this? We'll dive into this to understand why was the prophecy and the spreading of the new religion, which is Islam, why was it divided like that? First, let's go into chronologically. I know a lot of people watch anime in like the watch order, which is like mysterious, and you watch the Bakemonogatari, and then you have to go watch Kizumonogatari after Bakemonogatari, even though Kizumonogatari occurred before Bakemonogatari, which is annoying. Why can't I just watch Kizumonogatari first so I understand everything? So yes, I'm not gonna be that annoying guy, and I'm gonna start from the chronological order. The beginning. Beginning was, as we already know, in Mecca. And even that Mecca phase had 3 stages. The first stage was called the secret call. Well, as the name implies, clues in the name, it was the time where the prophet had to be secretive about, telling people about Islam. We'll get more into that later. The second stage was the to proclaim, in Mecca, and what would you call it? It would be the time where the whole secretive hiding trying to tell people about Islam without anyone finding out. You know, that's the end. مراحل الدعوة, yes. Anyways, I'm having trouble finding the right word for it. Going public, yes. Public. Going public would be a right word. The second phase was going. Second stage was going public with the call, you know, with the spread of Islam, and the third stage and the last one is to spread, you know, Islam beyond Mecca, right? All right. So we'll talk about the Medina phase later on in the book. The book says that, not me. And let's focus more on the first stage of the Mecca phase. I know it might get confusing for some people, but just think of it as episode 1 of the whole journey, okay? We're in episode 1 of the whole journey. The religions, right, in the world back then, 1,400 years ago, and even more than that, were very established already, right? You're either a Christian, or you're a Jew, or you are a Hindusi. What's Hinduism? Hindu, right? It's called Hindu, right? Hinduism. Yeah. Yeah, or you were a Hindu. Anyways, the way I'm saying is that the religions were very much established, right? From a long time ago. The problem is when everything is already established, it's hard to just come out of nowhere and say, "Hey guys, I have a new religion." You know, it's very hard to do that, right? All religions has been there for so long that, you know, people were born into the world knowing that, you know, they are, you know, Jewish, or they are Christian, or they are, you know, it was already established. And to come up with something new is obviously not going to be easy, especially when the Arabs were all following the religion that came out of Mecca. And Mecca was corrupted. Originally, it was Hanafi, which is the original religion of Abraham, or Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim, you know, to the monotheism religion that only, you know, worshipped one God. Eventually got corrupted by the time passing, and especially one guy who, you know, who brought the statues and everything to this, but we're not going to go into his story. And people started worshipping statues that literally don't nothing. They're just statues. It's funny because they were the ones who made the statues as well. And fun fact, Umar bin Khattab, one of the companions, one of the people who worshipped statues as well, had a statue made out of dates. Okay? A statue made out of dates, you know, the dates that we eat. And he said, talking like about the times back then, talking, you know, reflecting on the times back before Islam, when he knew about Islam, he said, I would have, you know, worship this statue made out of dates in the morning, and when it comes the evening, I would get hungry, so I would eat it. So, and he would, you know, he would find it strange how would, you really want to know his name? What was his name? I keep forgetting his name. Uh, 1 second, chat. All right, sorry, Luna problems. She was being cute. Where were we? Anyways, what was I talking about? Yes. So basically, this guy that you guys really want to know his name for some reason, Amr bin Luhay bin Khuzai or something, right? He was a really big guy, right? An important person, and because of that, well, back then, that was way back then from our story time. He went to Sham, or what you would call the north, the places where the Roman Empire existed, right? And from there, he saw, these statues do be looking neat though, right? And he's like, I'm gonna bring some of these statues back home, and everyone's gonna love them, right? And well, he he was the reason basically. He brought the statues back home, and everyone was like, "Yo, these statues kind of cool, though." And they got excited, and then they started worshiping the statues for some reason. But as we already said, they were pretty stupid about it. In fact, we just mentioned how one of them was saying, "My statue was made out of dates, and when I got hungry, I ate the statue." This one thing that I've been worshiping in the whole morning. Yeah, I ate it. What a god! You eat your own god. Anyways, um, where was I? Yes, the thing is, even although it sounds very stupid, this was still the thing, the norm, or like what people were used to in Mecca. Because after what he did, generations passed, and like, okay, everyone just got used to the fact that statues should be worshipped, right? Everyone would come in to Mecca and be like, well, oh, right, I forgot to pay, respect to the statue, or something like that. So, since Mecca is like that, and it is the center of, all the Arabs and like their religion and stuff, and they always come there for it being a holy place. All other Arabs eventually got corrupted as well, and they were like, oh damn, these statues kind of cool though, and they started getting statues for themselves as well. And so the statue culture basically got, spread out. It spread out like cancer, and even worse, until like literally everyone in the next few generations were just, okay, yeah, statue. That's cool. That's cool. Right? They were like Animama going to Amazon and just buying anime figures without thinking about the budget. Feels bad. All the money gone. How are we gonna feed the kids? Anyways, um, the the counter measurement to that, or the way the prophet was supposed to handle that, was to not just come up and scream, "Hey, I've got a new religion. Listen to me." No one's gonna listen to you. So he started only telling those he completely trusted, starting from his family, from the waifu, from Khadija radiallahu anha. His wife, of course, believed him immediately and was like, "All right, I believe you, and I'm a Muslim right now." And then from after, his wife, he went to his freed slave. You could call him an adopted son, but not really. It's complicated. But in Islam, adoption is not allowed for the sole reason that if you adopt someone, they take after your name. And when that happens, the original father, they you know they won't become known anymore. And oh my god, this is actually a really long topic to talk about, but I'll still get into it. The prophet, we talked about how he was very, very respected in Mecca, right? And a really respected person. Everyone loved him. That's why back then, when slavery existed, someone gifted him a slave. Okay, that slave was named, his name was Zayd, right? Yeah, Zayd bin al-Harith, right? And the problem is that the prophet never liked the whole slavery thing. Before Islam was even a thing, he didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that, slavery is a thing, and he was like, no, you consider yourself free, you can live with us, and stuff like that. And I'm gonna call you Zayd ibn Muhammad. as in like you're now my son, basically adaptation, right? He wanted to adopt him, but in Islam, adaptation is not allowed. You can take care of someone, yes, you can take care of an orphan, but you're not allowed to put your name above his name. Why? Because there is something called the should I put this in easier words or like more complicated words, chat? Have you ever heard of Sweet Home Alabama? If the correct lineage and the bloodlines are not, set correctly, and you don't know who's the son of who because of adoption and stuff, there's a chance that a brother and sister might actually end up marrying each other. And that's really bad. That's really bad because, their children is going to be deformed. A huge chance of them, growing up, like you, chat, with 0 brain cells. And to prevent that, adaptation is not allowed. You are allowed to take care of someone. In fact, I know someone who has been taking care of a family their whole life. But even when they were a child, they never changed his name, right? They told him, your name is this, to remind the kid who his origin was. He lived with that family and everything. Eventually, when he was, I think, 13 or 15, I think when he was 13, they told him about, that his real parents died in an accident. And that those he is living with currently are not his real parents. But still, he, as shocking as it is, he still lived with these people, and he can't really mind it much when he's lived his whole life with them, right? Don't say bad things about chat in Ramadan. Nah. It's not bad things if it's the truth. Anyways, where were we? Hey, chat, if you haven't noticed, the title of this stream is full of anger. It's because of you, chat. How am I gonna work with this anger? زوج من اليتيم من I'm not sure, yeah. I'm not sure either. I have not heard about that, so we can't talk about it. But anyways, as I was saying, Zayd bin Harith, I guess the thing is, you can't call him a slave. He's not a slave. He's a free slave, but he still is under the protection of Prophet Muhammad. But he was he was still a boy back then, and he's one of the people who believed the Prophet immediately, which is obvious since he treated him in a way that, he was just like a father to him. He loved him like his son, he was just like a father to me. But anyways, then it was his cousin, Ali bin Abi Talib. Of course, you all know Ali bin Abi Talib is a very, very, very common name, and if you don't know him, then you will once we get into the depth of this book, because this man, he might be young right now, but he grew up to be an absolute unit, right? That's the easiest way I can just say it. An absolute unit, a man among men, right? Anyways, and one of the people who also believed in him instantly was his friend, his closest friend, Shiyu, best friend, closest friend, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Abu Bakr is just a nickname. That's not his real name. But as we've talked about this before, how can I say this? I've said this before, right? And back then, if a lot of people knew you by a name or a nickname, then that's the name that you will be called by. Like, even if your child, let's think of it this way. Let's say they, instead of aMeKA, I get wildly known as the rat. Okay, the rat. If one day I get a son, then they will say, his name, oh, you're the son of the rat. They won't say son of aMeKA, right? Because I'm more known as the rat, right? Not aMeKA. And so Aisha bint Abi Bakr. His daughter, Abu Bakr, his daughter was referred to Aisha bint Abi Bakr, the daughter of Abu Bakr. Even though his name is not Abu Bakr, his name is Abdullah bin. His name is Abdullah, right? But, Abu Bakr was just a nickname that he was very known with. As-Siddiq, as in the one, the believing. Because he was named that because he believed, despite, not being, God, this is so hard to explain. The first people who believed in the Prophet are all special. They're all very important people. They are very special people. But Abu Bakr will always be referred to as the believer, because no matter what the Prophet would say, he would believe him with zero doubt in his mind. Like above the rest. No one else can reach that level of having like 100% trust in someone. Just like Abu Bakr had 100% trust in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Luna again. One second. Luna knocks on my door. I open the door for her and she says bye bye and then closes the door. Like, what do I do with this kid? Seriously. It's like those who are like, wake everyone up to tell them that they're gonna go to sleep. Like, what? Anyways. Another person. By the way, all those we just mentioned, all of them were considered a Muslim, or like they took Islam as their religion and became Muslim on the very first day that the call started and that the Prophet started telling people about it. Exactly, they were told and they were said, yes, okay, we believe you. And Abu Bakr, let's talk about Abu Bakr a bit more since we're already talking about him. He was proved to be one of the the most the best people to advocate for Islam since the day he embraced it, which is day one. He was wealthy, he was upright, and a lot of people would come over to his house. A very wealthy man, a very nice man as well, and every time someone would visit, because he had a lot of knowledge as well, people would ask him for knowledge, ask for his pleasant company, his business, all of these things, right? So that way he would invite people he had confidence in. Like, whenever one of the people who always visit him, he thinks, yo, this person is a good person. I think that person, is a bit more open-minded than the others, or like would believe what I'm about to tell him. He would invite them to Islam. And because of that, only because of his efforts, a really good amount of people converted to Islam, right? One big name of these people is Uthman ibn Affan, right? Uthman ibn Affan is probably the richest person to ever exist in this whole story that we're talking about, and we'll get to his accomplishments. Maybe let's mention it. Let's talk about Uthman bin Affan for a bit, because why not? Uthman bin Affan, this man was so rich, okay? There was one time, very briefly, I'm not going to get into details, but there was one time where there was a war coming up. This was way later in Islam times, right? And the Prophet said, whoever, uses their money. Should I spoil this? Spoilers, I don't know. Chat, do you guys want spoilers or not? You guys want spoilers? Tell me if you want spoilers. I give you spoilers. You guys want spoilers? Okay. So basically, let's get, since you guys want the full spoilers, I'll just get to it. There was he's probably the most generous person to to ever been known, to the point where you know, people made an idiom by his name. Okay? He is so generous and so loved by the people that people at his time had an idiom by his name. The idiom goes, أحبك والرحمن حب قريش لعثمان, which is basically, it rhymes a bit. Even if you don't like understand Arabic, you can see the rhyme. أحبك والرحمن حب قريش لعثمان. Basically, what it means is to say to someone that I love you so much. I swear I love you so much. The same amount of love that Quraysh love Uthman. Quraysh as in like the whole clan, the whole tribe that leads Mecca, right? They loved him so much. The amount of love people loved him for became an idiom and became a saying, okay? And in the fight in Tabuk, Ghazwat Tabuk, you know, the fight of Tabuk, so something that we'll get into way later. It's like, you guys, I'm spoiling episode 50 right now while we're still on episode 3. It's a big spoiler, but I'm not going to get into it. But in the fight of Tabuk, right, the even just like Yo, should I spoil this? You guys sure you want spoilers? I mean, I already start talking. I thought it would have been easier, you know, once we're in the fight time and stuff, and then, yo, there's, you know, not enough troops, not enough money. And then Uthman comes in, right? And and he pays so much money. So much money. He you know, let's just, you know, just so that you guys forget eventually, and then when we get to it, I'll remind you. But let's just say he paid so much money for the sake of preparing the army for the, you know, that battle, to the point where the Prophet was saying, "ما ضر عثمان ما من عمل بعد هذا اليوم." So, which means, you know, it translates in English, ما على عثمان ما عمل ما ضر عثمان ما عمل بعد هذا, which means, you know, no matter what Uthman does after this, it will never harm him. As in, like, it's a huge word, by the way. It's like saying, no matter what you do, no matter what you sin, your sins will be forgiven. You won't be harmed by these sins. It's something of that saying, right? That's how big it was. And when we say prepared a whole army by himself, this is not a simple thing to say. That is a lot of money. Like a lot. And we'll get into the details later, but I just started talking about this just to like give more insight on this person, okay? Uthman bin Affan. Engrave this name in your hearts. He's the symbol of generosity. And we should always like try to learn from him when it comes to being generous and like giving people. Who else? The Zubair ibn al-Awwam was also someone that Abu Bakr converted. Abdurrahman bin Auf, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, and yeah, a lot more. And those were like the vanguard of the new faith, right? The new faith, the new religion, Islam. Those people were like the front line. Well, technically they were the only people at first, but they still, after that, Bilal bin Rabah. Bilal has his own story. I mean, yes, I mean, you literally said Bilal's name as I saw him in the text. Bilal was one of the early Muslims as well. Abu Ubaidah bin bin al-Jarrah, and Abu Salama. A lot of names. His wife Fatima, daughter of the Khattab. Yeah, so the there's a lot of names, but overall, all of the names, I'm not gonna read all of them. There were around 40, okay, around 40 people, and these were the beginning force of Islam, the very beginning, the main force, and the original one, right? My ears hurt. This new headset is not comfortable at all. Right. So, the Oh, the next topic is a little big. The next topic is a little big. It's about the prayer, the salah. It gets very Al-Isra. You guys know the story of Isra, right? I mean, I've talked about it before, no? Oh, I've actually. It feels weird to repeat the stories again, but I've talked about it in a Friday stream. You know, the night journey when the Prophet went up to the seven heavens, all of them, 1, 2. Heavens are like levels. He met Adam in the first one. He met Moses in the 6th one. Right? Isra al-Mi'raj, yeah. رحلة الإسراء والمعراج, not Isra Mi'raj, but yeah. I guess maybe we should leave that for tomorrow, or should I even mention it at all? Okay, I'm not gonna go into details since we already talked about this before in a different stream, but the Prophet, even though the whole activities of Islam were very much in secret and in privacy, the Prophet was still meeting with people, undercover, trying to teach them all the things that he was taught by Jibril, during the revelations, all the things that they were supposed to do, all the things that were not supposed to do. But there's a really important take on that. Back then, in the original stages of the call, Islam was very simple. It was based on, do not ever worship another god. That's it. And like a little more things that slight things that would what do you call it? Strengthen the hearts of those who are joining Islam. Stories about heaven, stories about the hell, and that it does exist for those who who worship other gods and all these things. However, during that time, there weren't actual salah didn't exist yet. Prayer wasn't a thing, and a lot of other things that we do didn't exist. It was more on a spiritual level and time of trying to work with the belief, right? The actual about that, yeah, it's true. Even just like Shitai just said in the chat, even the fact that everyone knows, this is common knowledge, that alcohol is haram, is like forbidden in Islam. You're not supposed to drink alcohol, and even that wasn't still a thing back then. In the very beginning of this, alcohol was not prohibited. In fact, even the time when it was warned against, it was something like slowly, things like you're not supposed to drink alcohol before prayer, right? And then you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, slowly but surely, until way later in the story where everything was definitive, final. things were being very clear and concise, right? And what to do and what not to do, which is the Medina arc, we call it, or the phase, if that was more, if that's a better word to say it, the Medina phase. But during the beginning of Islam, it was simply just, on secret. They were trying to tell each other the words that the Quran that would be revealed to the Prophet. It's like this. Imagine it like this. Try and use your imagination, chat. The Prophet gets a revelation. A revelation means what? New verses, new ayat. Everyone is super excited to know what the new ayat is. So they meet with the Prophet in secret, listen to him reciting the ayat. And then they start writing it on paper or like leather, because that's how some of the things that they used to write on. And they would do that over and over and over and meet in secret. And chapters at the time were short. Yeah, and at the time, the as I just said, the parts of the Quran that used to be revealed to the Prophet were very short and sweet, and with a lot, nice rhythm, amazing rhythms. In fact, a lot of people who listen to recitation and they're not Muslim, they think of it as singing, right? Of course, we Muslims know that this is a huge mistake, and you shouldn't ever refer to Quran as singing, because singing is something humans do, and the Quran is something that God came up with, and it's something that we'll never reach, so we can't say it's singing, it's recitation, right? But the reason they think it's singing, because it rhymes. It has a rhyme. It has like a melody to it that nothing else can achieve. Especially in the Mecca ayat. The ayat that were being revealed to the Prophet during Mecca, Surat al-Makkiyah, as you can see, of course, if you open any Quran, you can see it, right next to surah, it says this surah is Makki, this surah is Medina, right? Which explains what time or during which phase of the whole journey of Islam this surah was revealed. And back then the surahs were short, they were small, they were encouraging. Remember how we talked about إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. Right? Al-Kawthar. Very short surah. Right? What's the meaning of the ayats? It's encouragement. Telling the Prophet that there will be the best river in heaven will be given to him under his, his hand. And that, those who make fun of him will be punished. And like all these reassurances was happening then. And the central topic, running through these those ayat and verses that we were talking about are all about, purifying the soul, making people happy to be Muslim, realizing that, whew, this is so beautiful, this must be true. Humans cannot write something like this. Back then, especially back during the prime of Arabs, poetry was their trick. They knew everything about poetry. They knew how to write, how to read, and they were exceptional at it. That's why when the Quran came in, every good writer knew for a fact that there is no way a human wrote this. It is beyond what humans can write. It has deep meanings to it. It has a lot of nuances. It has so many things. Till this day, we don't understand the Quran 100%, and we'll never be able to, because there are parts of it that only God knows. Right? And the verses also had, some deterrence in it. To deter, if you guys don't know the word deter, it means to warn and to scare someone off by showing them punishment. People do that in court all the time. It's like if you become a criminal, you get 60 years in jail. So you get deterred. You get scared of doing crime because you don't want to live in jail for 6 years. The same was here. the Muslims were being deterred from, zina, which is, uh, what zina is. I don't wanna. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna. I don't like talking about these things. Anyways, and all kinds of sins. Not all of them, but more the horrible ones, right? There were a lot that 100% were stops, and there were some that since they were loved by the people back then, especially like alcohol. People drank alcohol all the time back then. So of course Islam didn't ban alcohol at once. If that happened, then people would get mad. They would be feeling like, wow, are we really sacrificing alcohol for this thing called Islam? Even though we like it, but we don't know if it's true, Their hearts weren't 100% in place. They weren't 100% Muslim. They were new to Islam, and so the Islam treated them accordingly, not to be harsh on them. And of course, as I already mentioned, the early verses always mentioned the hell and mentioned the paradise, always mentioning them in parallels. If it mentions hell to scare people, it mentions paradise or heaven to make them excited for it, right? And eventually the prayer was the prayer, or the salah, was there as well, right? And salah back then, at the very early stages of Islam, before Isra and Miraj, was basically only 2 rak'ahs, as in 2 units of prayer, or a unit of prayer, in the morning, and 2 in the evening. That's it. Like the ayah in Quran says, "أقم الصلاة طرفي النهار وزلفا من الليل." Right? Or what was the ayah? أقم الصلاة طرفي النهار وزلفا. No, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. What was it? I know the ayah. I know it. Why am I not remembering? Oh, وسبح بحمد ربك بالعشي والإبكار. Yeah, وسبح بحمد ربك بالعشي والإبكار is also from Ghafir, Surah Ghafir. Right? Morning, evening, that's it. But what we don't know is that before the night journey, or before the Isra and Mi'raj that we were talking about, was the prayer, the 2 prayer, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening, were they obligatory? Were they not? No one knows, actually, right? Before the actual 5 prayer a day were, imposed, the required ones, right? And some people say yes, it was obligatory, the 2 prayers, and some people say that they don't know, and I don't know as well. It's not like I can talk about these things. I'm not a researcher, but it is also said that Gabriel, or Jibril, the archangel, is the one who taught the Prophet how to do wudu, right? He's the one who taught him how to do wudu. And then back then, during the time of the secret, when everyone was being secretive about Islam, when it was the time for prayer, the Prophet and his companions, all the people who already converted to Islam, they went to a mountain valley, and they would pray there secretly. But one time, the Prophet's uncle, before 50, okay. Again, just to not confuse things. First, it was 2 times only. 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. Whether those 2 were obligatory or not, no one knows. Okay? However, later on in the story, the night journey happens, the Isra and Mi'raj, which is when the Prophet gets carried all over to the seventh heaven, talks to God, talks to Allah, and Allah tells him 50 prayers a day. Tell your people they have to pray 50 times a day for me. Okay? And of course, it's not Allah being cruel. This is just everything is basically written. And it's all will happen according to Allah's will. And that's why he said that, so that Prophet Moses, who met up with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tells him, no, your people will not be able to handle it. Lower the number. And then it went, this happened over and over and over and over, this exchange, until it went from 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 32, 30, whatever how you count numbers, I forgot. And till it became 5. And even so, Prophet Moses said, no, tell your, go back to God and tell him to reduce, ask him to reduce the number. Your people will not handle it. But then the Prophet was very embarrassed and he said he can't. He already did that so many times and he's too embarrassed to ask that of God, right? That's the story of the 5 and 50, so that people won't confuse them. Then there's the... what were we talking about? Oh, I forgot what were we talking about. Alzheimer's kicking in. Oh, right. Right. We were talking about how the Prophet and his companions would go to the mountains to like pray in secret. And one time, Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle, yes, the one we were talking about during his childhood, the one who loved him very, very much. He's still alive and well, the uncle of the Prophet, Abu Talib, saw his son and the Prophet, his son being Ali, the man amongst men. His son Ali and the Prophet were praying with each other. So he didn't know what they were doing, so he asked, he asked them, what are you guys up to? What are you guys doing? And when he knew, he answered them, they answered him. When he knew that it was like prayer, he told them to stay consistent, right? To keep doing it. So like, good luck and keep doing it. Even though that goes against, what he's doing, he still remained on the statue worship. But he loves them so much to the point where he was cheering for them, even though they were on a different religion, right? And even though these 3 years, it's like the way that this thing happened, praying in secret, talking to each other in secret about Islam, trying to not let anyone find out that we're Muslims, right? And only meet the Prophet when no one's watching, and then listen to the new verses that are revealed, and all these. This went on for 3 years, okay? Until, some leaking started to happen. Even though, they're being secretive, the walls have ears, some people say. The news started leaking. And after the rumors started getting over and over, like all over Mecca, it went to Quraysh's ears, right? Or like the leaders, not only Quraysh, all the other tribes. They heard about it. They heard about, there's apparently a new religion. It's called Islam. We heard like about it and something like, So the leaders were like, we don't care. What is he going to do? Do your thing, right? Do your Islam thing. We don't care. They didn't care about what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is doing. They didn't care about what he's teaching. They just left him alone, right? Even though they heard about what he's doing. But the reason why they left him alone is because they thought, he was a philosophist, right? You know these people that sometimes appear out of nowhere, just starting spouting nonsense and saying, "Oh, I believe this is this, this is that." Oh, and then people just think of them as crazy, right? And they thought that, that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the Prophet Muhammad, was just basically a little crazy, and he was just being a philosophist or whatever he was doing, right? And they just compared him to another people who were, into philosophy and stuff. And the problem was the big problem was that eventually they realized that it's not only a philosophy, and that the things that Prophet Muhammad is teaching goes exactly against 100% against what they're doing. It's not that he was trying to find a new, new way of worship, or try to modify some of the statues or something. No. It was about destroying all the statues, completely disregarding them and not considering them as gods at all, and going against the teachings that they were in. And that's when Quraysh, right, and those who believed in like the statues and everything, they were being anxious. They were like, whoa, hold on. What? What is this guy doing? Is he actually gonna to make people stop buying our statues? This is business. You're gonna ruin our business. You're gonna ruin our religion. This has been going on since generations. Our dads made statues. We make statues. Our grandfathers made statues. All that. And they got mad about it. They were like, no. This is, hold up. We ignored you at first, but now we can't ignore you anymore. That was after 3 years, right? And the problem is that oops, I just realized I'm out of time. But let me just so they're selling religion, as if not everyone is selling religion. Haven't you seen people who sell the Bible? And they would like literally tell you, oh, look, if you don't buy the Bible from me right now, then God will hate you and you will smite you down where you stand. Have you not met someone like that? Happens all the time. They would affiliate themselves with a church or something and be like, oh, if you don't buy the stuff from me, I'm a pastor, blah, 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 then God won't forgive you. Or people sell religion all the time, sadly. But yeah, this does bring us to a really good stop, because this was the end of the 3 years. 3 years have passed. Everything was, in underground, undercover, and no one really knew about the Prophet's new religion, new faith that he brought, Islam, other than a select few. And even when they knew about it, the leaders of Mecca, they didn't pay him, like, they paid him no mind. They thought, no, he doesn't matter, until they realized what his new message was about. And when they knew that the new message would, affect them, they started a revolution, or let's just call it, well, it's not a revolution, but let's just say they started opposing him more actively. And from here on, starting the next stream, the story gets a lot darker and a lot more depressing and a lot more painful, because this whole time, the Prophet was having so much fun, only even if it was in secret. It's like trying to sneak out of school with your friend, right? It's not bad if you sneak out of school. Well, it is bad. Don't sneak out of school, kids. But it's like, you go somewhere with the boys, and you go, have fun doing what you love, right? And it's been so good for everyone related to Islam. Everything was nice with them. But from this point onwards, everything literally becomes so horrible that there are things that I cannot say on stream. That's how bad they are. There are things that happen to the people who were revealed to be Muslim they got tortured. They got, well, they got treated in ways that I genuinely, I'm not joking. I cannot talk about it on stream. It is that graphic, and in ways that you can't even imagine. Right? It's literally in a way that you can't even imagine, sadly. Hamdulillah. I mean, and the bright side is that they died shuhada, right? They died for the sake of Islam, and anyone who dies for the sake of Islam, no, sorry. Let me correct that, because a lot of people might take it the wrong way. Those who die Muslims for the sake of Islam go to heaven. Listen, who die Muslim. And one of the biggest things against Islam is that those who kill themselves are not Muslims. Okay, this opens up a really big, plot hole in what a lot of, terrorists do. If you blow yourself up, you're not a Muslim anymore. You go against one of the most fundamentals teaching of Islam, to treasure the soul that you were given. The soul that's inside of your body is not yours. This is a soul that was lent to you by God, and you're supposed to bring it back. Right? And killing yourself is not something that you're supposed to do when you don't own your own soul, and therefore you're not a Muslim if you do that. Okay? So, terrorists who do that in the name of Islam, quote unquote, they're not actually Muslims. Of course, everyone already know that, but I have to mention it anyways. Because these people originally were normal people. It's just that they were misled and brainwashed to thinking that, yo, if I die now, if I explode myself, I get 70 virgins. Oh, wait for me, virgins. And he would have been like, what, a 30 years old wizard and haven't seen a woman in his whole life. And he was like, oh my God, 70 virgins. I shall gladly blow myself up. Right? And they would do that, right? They would do the deed. And I'm not joking. This is actually a lot of the brainwashing that happens and what makes these people turn into that. So please, chat, do not get any weird ideas, okay? No, nothing for you. If you kill yourself, you get nothing. Treat your life dearly, please, okay? But yeah, we're out of time right now. The next time we'll get into the heavy stuff. But for now, you guys are spared. I'll see you guys next time. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. All right. Ooh, stream over. Bye bye. Bye bye, Johnny. Wee. Ay, ay, ay.